Hey everyone, and welcome back to Country Music Made Me. Thank you so much for joining us once again. As always, please be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe to us wherever you are listening. You can leave us a review, a rating, tell your friends, your family, your neighbors to come on over and have a listen. That support is huge. Today, we're sitting down with Canadian country musician Annika. Now, before launching her solo career in 2021, she spent many years as one half of the country duo Leaving Thomas. Now, after the band played their final show in January of 2020, she spent the year really figuring out who she wanted to be as an artist. She left social media, she connected with friends to write and produce the music, and in 2021, she has really kickstarted things with her latest single being Encore, featuring none other than Canadian country superstar Brett Kissel. Please enjoy our conversation with Annika. What has it been, 2.5 months as a mom now?
Yes, I was going to say Levi is 12 weeks today. He'll be 3 months on the 12th. So I'm figuring out the schedule, kind of getting into a routine. And there's a lot of nap time means work time. So when people say sleep when the baby sleeps, they're not living the life of an artist because there's a lot to do with the baby sleeping.
Exactly. And with that lifestyle, I heard you talk about the busyness of it and sort of the perception within the industry almost that moms can't do it because they're too busy.
Yeah, I think definitely when a lot of people talk about moms that are, female artists, they're all often referring to people like Maren Morris or Carrie Underwood, people that are very established. And I think as much as they say there's, working women in country, mothers in country, a lot of the time they have to be really big before they feel comfortable enough to start having kids. So I feel like I'm one of the few people who are launching a career while also having a baby. So it's one of those things where I've really loved both parts of it because it allows me to create balance. It forces me to have balance on both the career side as well as the motherhood side. So it is busy, but I think it's been really good for me.
And how important was it to start that solo career first and not necessarily say, let's have the kid first and then start the solo career? How important was it to kick that off and get it moving?
Yeah, well, I think what ended up happening for me was I learned that it's very difficult to time when you have children.
Right.
Like, I know some people can say, we want to have the baby in September. So let's, looking at my clock, we should start figuring this out, 9 months prior. But for me, we had it was a long time trying to get pregnant. And I just realized basically life doesn't stop while you're trying. Life continues to go just like it will continue going after you have the kid. So you have to do what you can with the information you have at the time. So when I originally recorded the record, I was not pregnant, did not have plans on getting pregnant in the next 6 months because it had taken us so long. And then it happened. And I remember saying to Spencer, my husband, we'll wait to release the album when COVID is over. Like, this will be perfect. We'll have the baby, COVID will be done. It'll all go in this perfect sequential plan. And of course, here we are, still COVID times. And I released the song in May and basically did a bunch of prep work knowing I'd give birth in July. So I love that the world we live in allows us to do that. Like, it's just been amazing because I really did get to experience that first month just focused on the baby because I had done all this other stuff. So,
right.
Now here we are still in the throes of the second single and life keeps moving and keeps going. And we just take it as it comes.
Exactly. And before we get too deep into the new material, I love to follow the journey of a musician. So let's go back. Speaking about kids, you are the youngest of 5 in your
Correct.
family. And so what did that mean for you? I think it meant, from what I know of you so far, that you were the outgoing one. You were the one that had to jump up and down to get attention because there were 4 more in front of you.
Yeah, I also say that's why I have such a loud speaking voice, is I'm just used to yelling over 4 other siblings. So yeah, I'm kind of the classic youngest child, always wanted to be on stage, always performing. And I come from a very musical family. So when we were each kid, when we were 4, we started playing a stringed instrument as well as the piano. So I played the violin for 13 years and I played piano for 16 years doing the classical route. And so that's where they used to joke and call us like the Von Trapps, because we would play in a quintet together.
Well, I was going to ask you about
uncool.
Talk about that. I was wondering if because I heard you talk about a quintet, but I didn't know if you were joking or if that actually happened.
It was real. We were called the Hollyburn Quintet, and my dad was the director, and we would play at, weddings, funerals, things like that. And I just remember even in our van, we had like cubbies for each instrument, because in our family, we had 2 cellists, 2 violinists, and 1 violist. So it was very busy with lots of lessons and orchestra. And then I did fiddling because I wanted to get crazy and not just do classical. So very musical family, and singing choirs, all that kind of stuff. But I've always said I was the only one in our family that really wanted to be a star. I wanted to be on Broadway, and everyone else in my family was happy to be in the background, but I wanted to be on stage. And so I was really passionate about musical theater, and realized pretty quickly on that my voice is quite low and I have the range of a tenor instead of a classic soprano. So I was never going to be a leading lady on Broadway. And I started writing my own songs because I needed to write my own music that fit my voice.
Okay.
So I started writing when I was about 13 or 14. I would actually write songs to get out of school projects because I hated doing posters or stuff like that. I'd say, can I just write a song about this instead? And then 16 was when I did Canadian Idol, which was kind of the first, okay, I'm going to try to do something real here. And that was a great experience because it showed me I definitely want to be an artist, and I'm definitely not ready yet. I think I was, thrown into this, I was living in Toronto for the summer and all these live performances, and looking back, of course, I cringe at all of them, but I definitely learned I was passionate about music, but I had a ways to go. And so I went to university and studied accounting, got my degree in that. So I know I just got way cooler
now,
in your mind.
How did that work? Because like you talk about the music in your family, but both your parents, they seem like more the straight and narrow sort of analytical people now. But back then, were they musical, or did they just want the kids to be musical?
Both my parents were musical. Like my dad plays the clarinet. He sings in the Calgary Philharmonic. But my dad specifically was very realistic about my chances as an artist. It was like, you're never going to make any money at that. I think you're very talented, but this is something that you have no control over. And so jokingly, basically, my mom was the kind of mom that was my biggest cheerleader. She would tell me I was going to be a star. And then my dad was the one that always kept me humble by saying, this probably isn't going to happen for you. So it was actually a really good balance, because I think from the ages of 17 to 21, when I was going to university, I was still doing shows. I was still taking voice lessons, doing all that outside of school. And then I graduated with a degree, which, some people are against getting a backup degree, but I felt that by getting the backup degree, I could now be completely fearless, right? Because I have something to fall back on if I needed it.
Right.
And so I gave myself a year to get a job on a cruise ship as a piano bar entertainer, because I love to travel and that's what I wanted to do. And again, I asked my dad if he thought I would get hired, because they had been on many cruises, and he said, no, I think you're really good, but I don't think they're going to hire a 21-year-old blonde girl from Canada to be the piano bar entertainer. And I got hired in 2 weeks and went to Alaska and spent the next 4 years doing that. So it's very weird. It's now been, 10 years, and I still have to pinch myself to say oh yeah, I guess I am a professional singer, songwriter, performer, which is still amazing to me. So that's my background.
And all the way along, even when you were writing, were you writing sort of in the country music vein of that storytelling, or what did your writing look like?
So I didn't start co-writing until Brighton and I got together as Leaving Thomas. And so that was when I was, 22. I had always written by myself, very much as a therapeutic thing. It was never as a commercial thing. But I loved country music growing up. And I really fell into country music because of Brighton. We were this duo, and we just kind of had this natural welcoming from country music that took our music and said, we love this. So I fell in love with country music again as a writer and as a performer, partly because country music is so broad now that I would always say I'm on the fringes of country. Because it's not like, on cruise ships, I was singing Patsy Cline. I was singing like the classics. And I'm like, this isn't classic country. But you're exactly right. It's the songwriting. It's the storytelling. That's what I love about it. And that's what I think through Leaving Thomas, as well as now this album, is always consistent, is that storytelling aspect.
And as far as Leaving Thomas, before that really got going, did you have some sort of solo career? Because I saw posts back from like the 2013 of playing New York City.
Yes.
So did you have sort of a solo career going before Leaving Thomas?
Yes, I did. I was doing not country. It was very singer-songwriter. I was playing the piano at all my shows. And I basically kind of got into the whole piano bar entertainer thing, right? From working on cruise ships. What was great about the ships I worked on was they let me sing my own songs in addition to every, Elton John cover, every, singing Sweet Caroline every week. I got to do my own songs, which was great. So I kind of developed a fan base through cruise ships that was all around the world, which was really cool. I had guests come visit me or come to concerts from all around the world. And it was more of a pop project. And that's actually how I originally got together with Brighton after I remember he sang background vocals for me at one of my shows.
Oh, okay.
And then we did another show where we just ended up jamming together and we kept on saying, this is so much fun. We should do this together. So yeah, I did have my own solo thing, but that's why it's this weird relaunch now where I'm almost 10 years older and trying to reestablish myself, even though, I've been doing this for quite a few years now.
And throughout your time with Leaving Thomas, what were your feelings all the way throughout that? Like, because you were never really into country, when you got into that, was it ever a long-term thing for you? Or was it always just this thing that was happening for the moment?
No, I was committed to Leaving Thomas because my big mantra with music is if something's working, just follow it. Like, sometimes we spend so much time trying to make one thing work when something else could naturally work on its own. And that's what Leaving Thomas was. It was like a snowball. It just, we released a song by ourselves, then we got signed with the label, then we had CCMA nominations and festival bookings. And, I was having so much fun. I was getting to write my own songs. We were getting to work with the producers and musicians we loved. I mean, it was awesome. And so I was happy to be in country because country music let us really do our own thing. They weren't trying to put us in a box. And so, as what happens with music though, is that life continues on, and Brighton, my partner, was also starting another business that really was his passion. And he decided in 2019 that he wanted to pursue that. And I think as a friend, after, experiencing the 4 years with him, you just want to support your friend at the end of the day. So of course I was bummed because I had so much fun doing Leaving Thomas, but it was kind of a blessing in disguise in that we did our final farewell show January of 2020. So right before COVID hit. Then I kind of got this year to myself to write and figure out what I wanted to do because there was no pressure to, come out with something on my own. So right. My journey to where I am now has been kind of a roller coaster ride. And I certainly miss my buddy and I miss being a duo sometimes, but there's also, it's a new phase for me. And I think even as a 30-year-old compared to being a 24-year-old, I'm just in a different place in life too.
Right. And at the end of 2019, in October of 2019, you had a song that was part of the Unbridled Apparel campaign,
yes.
And it was much poppier. And so when Leaving Thomas was finished, did you know which way you wanted to go? If you wanted to go back the pop route or if you wanted to continue the country route?
No, absolutely not. I think it's so hard because I love so many different genres of music and I love writing different genres of music, which is why as a writer, the opportunity to create songs for brands or for sync placements is so exciting, because you can write a really poppy song, but that's not necessarily who I am as an artist. So when I was approached to write this song, I mean, literally they said it just needs to have the hook unbridled, which is a pretty weird title to, like, and I thought, well, this will be a challenge. Like, we'll see what comes out of it. And after looking at the clothing and what the brand's vibe was, it's like, this has to be something pop and upbeat. And so because I wasn't constrained about, this being my solo project, this was just a kind of one-off opportunity. I went wild with it and did something really different, really fun, and probably something I'll never do again. But it was definitely a nice year to explore, to figure out what I really wanted to do. And I love writing that kind of music, but I wouldn't, want to do a show performing those songs. Those are more just like fun to record and yeah.
And also in 2019, I saw that you were able to perform Mother in front of Jan Arden at an event. Now, throughout this career, like you say, things just turn into things. And it's almost like you had this dream when you were young and things have just sort of snowballed. And so when events like that happen, are you able to sort of sit back and realize what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think there's it's very easy to get caught in the trap of always looking for the next thing. How do I get bigger? How do I get more followers? And maybe it's, motherhood, or I don't know what it is, but the name of my album is called Stand Still, because in the last 3 years, it's been very important for me to appreciate what is happening in the current moment, in the present, and really, standing still in that instead of always focusing on the future. And so that was a perfect moment. I have total memories, like a very visceral memory of standing on stage, hearing me singing, and she was listening. And then there was an artist like drawing at the same time. And it was in this beautiful auditorium. I mean, it was a career highlight for sure. And one of those things that you can't really dream up, it was just awesome.
And so throughout 2020, you basically went off grid. As far as off grid goes, you left social media for the year. How important was that? And like, how re-energizing was that coming into this new project?
Yeah, I think honestly, social media is such a double-edged sword. Like it's one of these things that it is a necessary evil in our industry, I feel. But at the time of 2020, it was great because I wasn't really working on a particular project. And so I didn't need it for business purposes. And I thought, why am I on this? I'm spending so much time. Like that was when I got on TikTok and I was, buried in the dark hole of TikTok for hours. And I couldn't understand how hours would go by and I had done nothing. So part of my personality is it had to be cold turkey. It was like, I'm off, deleted the app, deleted everything. And I remember when I was talking with my manager about this, upcoming album, and she said, okay, well, like, what are we gonna do about social media? You have to get back on there. And so I've really created my own boundaries with it in terms of what I choose to share, how often I'm on it. And I still end up deleting the app probably once a month, which then makes it very difficult to especially when I'm promoting something, it's annoying, but I have to go to the website and do it, which just creates that extra step. But even, I definitely am in favor of people that don't need to be on it. It can be very good for the soul to just get off it and not feel like you have to document everything. And what came out of that year was I started digital scrapbooking, right? Because I would take these pictures and we don't really print photos anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I started doing scrapbooks, and that gave me purpose for the photos that I took, because when you weren't posting them, it was kind of like I stopped taking pictures, and then I was sad about that. So I did find another way to do some stuff with pictures that I take to make the memories last.
That's awesome. And within that year and preparing for the new project and writing, now I know with Leaving Thomas, you did trips down to Nashville, you wrote with people in Nashville, but it felt like for this record, for your solo material, you really stuck to a core group of friends. to write this
Yes.
material. And I don't know if it was all the material, but how important was that to stick with that core group?
I think co-writing is 90% feeling comfortable with the people that you're with and 10% the individual skills of every writer. I think so much of what makes a good song is having the comfortability to throw ideas against the wall and not feel like an idiot if it's, not well received. Nashville has a specific energy about it. Bright and I would go down there and we would write 2 songs a day for, 2 weeks and come back with all these songs. And it was great. But of course in Nashville, they can crank out a song in 2 hours. It's like, these are experts. And it was great because I got to be around amazing, heavy hitting writers and challenge myself in terms of my efficiency as a writer. But, I wrote a lot of these songs with my husband, who's also my producer, and one of my very good friends, Aaron, and then our friend Chris, who lives in Nashville but would zoom in for these writes. And I think because this album is so personal and a lot of it is about my own life story, I just wanted to write with people that made me feel great about myself, and it was a safe space to share. But then also, Chris is a great lyricist. Aaron is a guitar player with great riffs. I'm kind of a melody person. That's kind of my forte. And then, of course, Spencer, being a producer, has a great all around view of things, as well as, he's a great editor. He's listened to so many songs come through his studio doors that I think we just happen to be a group of 4 that each bring very unique talents. And, I'm like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm not going to try to write with 50 different people when I love the people that I write with. Not to say that you shouldn't continue to explore, but when you find something that works, it just, it made it really easy during the pandemic when we couldn't go back and forth to Nashville to still get really quality songs.
Right. Now, Spencer is your husband. He is also your producer, your mixer, your recording engineer, your drummer, your musical director, and your co-writer. And you met him during the Leaving Thomas days because he produced all the material back then. And so that journey that you've taken with him, how important has that been? Do you think you would have had the courage to jump out on this solo project if you didn't have him behind you?
Absolutely not. He is my biggest encourager. And also it's like so great being married to someone who's in the industry and knows all of the processes that I'm going through, but isn't an artist himself. It's amazing. He was the one that was writing all these songs with me and then said, we can't wait until COVID is over. We have to release these songs. Like, we need to do something with this. And also it's very rare that someone has the same person as their producer, mixer, drummer, songwriter. He sees all the different phases of the song. So I feel like, other than yourself, usually nobody else kind of has a grasp on the big picture, whereas I have someone that actually has that. And I think being part of a duo before and then going to this career, it's been a nice transition because I still have someone else that I can, collaborate with and vent to about things and strategize with. And that's been a huge blessing. And he has always, because he produced my first record even before Leaving Thomas. So he's always had faith in me as an artist. He's always believed in me. And then it was years and years and years. And once we finally got together, it was like, oh, this is honestly amazing to have someone as passionate about your career as you are, who's not only your spouse, but also so talented in that realm. So I do not think I would be where I am without him. Actually, I know that. So yeah.
And you talk about his encouragement to put out this music. Now, how long did it take you to sort of wrap your head around it as an artist, that you're creating this body of work, but at the end of the day, you're not going to put it out as a body of work? Do you have to wrap your mind around that a little bit?
Yes, it was really frustrating the way music works these days. There are great parts about it. The fact that you as an independent artist can share your music with the world could not have happened 20 years ago without a big label. So that's amazing. The hard part about it is I hate living in a singles world. It's really hard for me because when I think of my favorite artists, I think of their best albums. I don't think of their best song. It's always an album. And so I knew I didn't want to release an EP or like 3 songs or whatever. I had these 14 songs, but I thought, well, I can't release them all at once because it's just not realistic. There's going to be a bunch of songs that never get heard. So that's why we came up with this concept of releasing these twingles, 2 songs every few months, so that if you hear a song by me and you really love it and you go to my Spotify, there's not just that one song. There's at least, now there's 4 songs. So people can really choose to invest in me as an artist if they want, or they can just get the one song and be done with it. But it is hard because, and that's part of my goal to get, the whole album will be released in 2022. So all the songs will be out by then, partly because the body of work is so reflective of my life now. I don't want to release it, over the course of 5 years, because I'm sure by the time 5 years comes, I'll have another whack of songs that, have meaning to me then. So it is difficult trying to navigate this new industry while also, wanting to present a body of work as a body of work instead of 14 separate little pieces.
Yeah, exactly. And the latest single is Encore, featuring Brett Kissel. Now, what did it mean as an independent artist to have an artist like that come onto a track?
Well, that's one of those pinch myself moments. I honestly asked Brett to do it thinking that he would not have the time or interest. I know that he's always been very supportive of me, so I knew he wouldn't, reject me in a mean way, but I thought, you know what, let's swing for the fences. I'll ask him. Worst thing he does is says no, and he'd be flattered, and, we can all laugh about it. But he responded within 10 minutes to my email with, just enthusiastic yes, and loved the song. And I think it's nice for him because it's a song that showcases a different side of him and his voice. I think he sounds amazing on it. And I think our voices were just meant to do a duet together. And that was when we finished that song, I was just always imagining Brett and I doing it. And I just can't believe it actually happened. It's still amazing to me.
And did I read that during that write, you weren't even writing that song for you? You were writing it for a male
artist. Yeah. And that was the idea, was we thought maybe we can pitch it to Brett Kissel at some point, and then often what happens with me in writing sessions when we're writing for other people, or not other people specifically, but let's say we're not writing for me.
Right.
I leave and I'm in love with the song. And I'm like, well, I want to record this song. But that second verse is very clearly like a man singing it. And it had this intimate like sexiness that I thought it would be nice to hear a man sing it. And then I thought, oh my goodness, we could totally do it as a duet. But that's why I wanted to keep it still very intimate sounding. And I think it actually is more romantic now that it's a duet instead of just one person singing. So it all worked out the way it should, which is, I believe that's what happens to songs. They go on their own journeys, but they always end up where they're supposed to be.
Right. And now the first single that you released, I Really Don't Want To, that song has been released to Canadian radio, and it's doing quite well. And so what is that like, coming into this and not knowing what's going to happen, and then having your single be able to actually do something right away?
Yeah, I think my manager often laughs at me because I'm opposite of a lot of artists in that I have zero expectations. I always expect the worst. Like, I'm going to release this song, it's going to get 100 listens, and that's all it's ever going to be. And I don't want to say I have a negative attitude about it, but I just keep my expectations low so that I'm never disappointed. And I really don't want to. We released that. I mean, that song is a 5-minute song originally. It's not really, certainly not a country radio, typical song. It's
right.
Not very fast. There's lots going on. But it was the I got chosen as the iHeart radio star, future radio star. And so it got played on stations across the country, and then other stations picked it up. And I'm just always so overwhelmed by people that choose to invest in me as an artist and the music that I'm getting out there, because they don't have to. It's something that they could just, it gets on their desk and they move on to the next thing. And so I've been completely surprised, pleasantly surprised. I remember I was giving birth. I was in labor, and Spencer said, I really don't want to just crack the top 40. I mean, it was insane. And so I thought, okay, I'm having a baby today and my song went top 40 and I have no label support. You know, I'm doing all of this independently. So, and to be a female on the radio, like just all these things were happening where I felt just pretty empowered that day. I was like, okay, things have worked out pretty well. So I've been loving to, like with Encore, it got playlisted a bunch on the different DSPs. And so to see the reaction to not only my fans, but also Brett's fans has been very cool too.
And you talk about the expectations and not coming into this project with any expectations. Now, it could be very different. You could come into this project saying, look at what I've done in the past. I was already an established artist. Look at me. I have this ego. And so has it been really important for you to leave that behind and come into this with the mindset of a new artist?
Yes, I believe fans don't owe me anything. Audiences don't owe me anything. It is my job to show up and entertain. And if that's for an audience of 25 people, I will do the same job as I would for, you know, a stadium. I think I have learned with music that you cannot predict what's going to work, what's not going to work. You have no crystal ball. You don't know how it's going to go. So the best thing is to make something that fulfills you and gives you creative joy, and share it with the world. And if they receive it in a way that, you know, is seen as success by the industry, great. If not, you've created something that nobody else has, and it's forever stuck in time. Like, that's what's so amazing about music, is that 30 years from now, my son can listen to a song that I wrote, you know, while I was pregnant with him. And that's just so cool. So I'm all about writing songs that are authentic to me and what I'm going through at that time. So that it's like this cool creative time capsule. And hey, if the rest of the world doesn't like it, who cares? Of course, I'm still grateful when they do like it, but
yeah,
still,
of course.
You don't want to create for that purpose.
And so with the way things are looking right now, you're releasing 2 singles at a time. So will you be releasing every song off the album before the album, or are you going to hold back some tracks that people can look forward to on the album?
We are holding back a few tracks, and that's why when the full album comes out, it'll be called the deluxe album, and there will be some surprises on there. So yeah, it'll be really fun to finally get all the songs out there. But in the meantime, we'll keep giving you a few little tastes here and there.
And is it a weird time because you have this album ready to go, and so obviously you want to start looking towards the future and your next project, but until you release this album, and then obviously you're going to want to promote the album, so do you kind of have to hold off on looking towards the future and what might be next?
Yeah, I think what's really, sometimes we forget with the artist, the job of an artist, so much of it is promotion after you get to do all the fun creative stuff. So I think even talking to a lot of my writer friends, some people can write, you know, all the time, every day for whatever project. I am very project focused. So I was in a writing phase. We do all the writing, then we do all the recordings, then we do all the mixing and mastering. And now I am in promotion and usually performance phase. Unfortunately, with COVID, not a ton of performing. But it is hard for me to write, let's say, music for the next project when I am so focused on what I'm doing now. The good thing is, you know, focusing on the promotion of this album as well as motherhood keeps me busy enough that I don't really have time to be like thinking of the next thing. And I've also learned that how an audience reacts, or my experience once the album is released, might change where I want to go or what I want to do or who I want to work with, or, you know, I'm open. So right now I still write, you know, probably a few times a month, often for other people or their projects. But I already have probably another 10 songs ready to go in addition to the 14 songs on this album. So I am trying to slow down a bit and just be present with the phase I'm in of this project.
That's awesome. And with how busy you are, it's funny when I look back at, you know, you being the youngest of 5 kids and always being the energetic one and the one who wanted to be on stage, and then looking at your past social media and just how open you are. When I was doing the research, I thought, is she going to do acting in the future? And then I actually saw that you have you've done some voice acting in the past.
Yep.
And so I was wondering where that fits, if that's something you want to do in the future.
I would love to be an actress. That's how I got started. I was in musicals. And so I've done over 40 shows. I love being a character, whether it's voice acting or theater acting or film acting. I think what happened to me, because I also studied drama in university.
Oh, okay.
That was my other, I didn't end up getting the degree in it, but I took all the classes. So love drama, love that. And my husband is always like, you're such an actress, like that's going to be somewhere on the horizon. And what's difficult about acting for me, what I found difficult is that you have very little control over your own opportunities. So, if you go audition for a film and you don't get it, you can't say, oh, I don't want to do a film. I don't want to be a director of a film. Whereas with music, you can say, I'm going to do my own show. I'm going to write my own music. I'm going to record videos and share them on YouTube. Whereas acting, I found a bit limiting in that way. But I hope that acting is somewhere in the future with, whatever comes to me. It seems that throughout my life, things have come at the right time and when they're supposed to be there. I think acting, my experience in acting helps me be a better musical performer. I think I have a respect for the audience that some singer-songwriters don't, because they write a lot for themselves, whereas I love to entertain. And I think that comes from a lot of my acting experience. And maybe that is somewhere in the future. I think that would be fun to do. I just don't have room for it on my plate right now. But if the right opportunity came along, I would love that too.
That is awesome. Well, for now, Encore and Love Looks Like You are the two newest singles that people can check out on Spotify. Do you have a release schedule for the next two yet?
Not a specific date, but it'll be before the end of 2021. So by the end of 2021, you'll have 6 songs there on Spotify to listen to your heart's content.
Thank you once again so much for listening, and thank you to Annika for stopping by and sharing her story. Be sure to check out all of her music wherever you stream your music. Please also be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe to us wherever you are listening. Leave us a review, a rating, tell your friends, your family, your neighbors to come on over and have a listen. That support is huge. Thanks once again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Country Music Made Me.